All right, welcome everybody. I'm Allison Rogers, Instructional Tech here at RESA, and this is Google Drive Tips and Tricks for Efficiency. And today we're going to cover just some basic navigation shortcuts, a couple of the newer features within Drive that you might not be aware of, some general tips and tricks to help make things quicker, faster, easier in Google Drive, and then we all like to be efficient in our work, and so I'm going to show you a couple techniques and tools that might help you within Drive. So again, since we're working with Google Drive, we always want to work with our Chrome browser. And today, if you want to follow along with me in your Drive, feel free to do so. Just make sure that you're in your CC RESA G Suite account. And to access that, you can either go to drive.google.com or you can go to your, if you're signed into another app such as Gmail or Calendar, if you go to the waffle, you click the waffle and then you click Drive, that will also take you to Google Drive. And one little tip within that, can even start with my tips right away, is when I'm in my Drive and I click my waffle, if I wanted to rearrange the order of some of these apps, I can just simply drag and drop and rearrange the apps that way. So if you have like more frequent flyers that you want at the top so it's more quickly accessible, just drag and drop and you rearrange it that way. All right. A couple things that are actually more related to Chrome but help you in terms of accessing your Google Drive as well. Many of you may already have this set up, but if you go into your Chrome settings and you scroll all the way down where it says open a specific page or set of pages, you can actually set up when you open Chrome, you can set up which tabs are open. So for example, every day I need to access my Gmail, my Google Calendar, my Drive. I have always a running list of things to do in my Google Docs, and usually Illumina Education. So maybe you have an SAS you want to throw in there, or maybe there's another frequently used file. So instead of having to go in and open up those apps or those files every day, you can actually go into your Chrome, have all of the tabs set up across in the order that you want and which pages you want to open. Once you have that set, you go into your Chrome settings, which again, you just simply go to the settings here. And then this is your Chrome settings and it will take you down to, let's see, keep going, on startup. And then you can say open specific page or set of pages. And so again, you can just have all of your tabs that you want set, and then you just simply click use current pages. And so the pages or the tabs that are open will open anytime you close Chrome. So if I were to close Chrome, I'm not going to right now because I got other things open, but if I were to close Chrome and open it back up, these 5 pages would automatically be the tabs that I see. So again, another way to quickly access Drive is to have your Google Drive within one of those pages. All right, it's a little more Chrome related, but helpful to find your Drive too. Okay, a couple tips. The .new domain shortcut. So yes, when you are wanting to create a new doc sheet, slide, form, or site, for example, you could go to your Google Drive and you could say, click the new button and then, click Google Doc. Or if you look at my little cheat sheet here, just type in docs.new or whatever it is you want to create .new. So for example, docs.new. And I click here. And boom, there's my new untitled document. And again, you can do it with all of these .new formats. So if, let's say, you're not in Drive or you just want to do a quick .new, open a new document, boom, there you go. All right, next tip. This is one of my favorites, is version history, especially when working in Google Drive and specifically like, let's say a Google Doc or a Google Slide. Maybe you have, a lot of times you have opportunities to collaborate, right? So you might have multiple people in the same document. And maybe once in a while somebody deletes something that perhaps you did not want deleted, for example. Or if you're like me, you might start, let's say, you create a presentation and you want to use the same format, but it's different content, and you make a copy and then you start working in the original. Yeah, may have done that many times in my life. And you're like, oh shoot, instead of having to click the undo, undo, undo button, you can just simply go to File, Version History, see Version History. And by doing this, you're not changing anything. You're just like, you know what? I want to check out, I think my drive's frozen. I just want to check out what other versions existed prior to what I just did. So for example, I could go back and see the dates and the times that I altered this particular slide deck, right? So if I had, worked on it and I thought, gosh, I want to see what it looks like from last week, I just simply click and it shows me the other version, right? It doesn't change anything yet. So I could go way back in time and really, take a look at my changes. But if I click the restore this version, then it will restore the version from May 27th, right? So I can go back and I can see who has changed what. So obviously this is a document that only I've worked on, but if multiple people had edited, it would have the specific names of people and what date and time that they edited the document, right? So that's a nice tool to be able to go back and maybe undo some things, or even from like a teaching tool, you could use this as a way to kind of see how students have like maybe developed their writing, or almost like a development of their writing process even. If it's a collaborative group project, maybe you could see like which kids did what a little bit. So there's a lot of different ways that you could use this, aside from just maybe saving yourself and finding the old version that you wanted and didn't mean to make changes to. So again, if you didn't want to make any changes, you just want to check out the versions, you just simply click the back button and it takes you back to the original. No changes, no harm done. So that is the version history. Let's see, what else do I want to cover? Yes, tips for the ultimate undo, trash restoration. Okay, so if I go to my drive, and let's say I've got something, I just want to clean up my drive. I don't even know what this is, untitled document. Sure, yeah, we probably should delete that. So I'm going to right click and just say remove. And again, it gives me a minute to be like, are you sure you wanted to do that? And if I didn't, I could click undo and it would bring it back. But if I'm like, yeah, I'm good with that. Later on, I think weeks later, what happened to that document? Oh, I deleted it. Oh boy. Is it gone forever? Well, I can go to the trash. And I can actually attempt to restore items in the trash, right? So this is a really insignificant document, but I'm going to restore it. So I just simply right click and I can either delete it forever, which I'm not really sure why you do that, but if you wanted to, you could do that. Or you could click restore and you're like, phew, it's back in, and you can even click on show file location, it'll take you right to it. But it takes you back into your drive and there it is. So if you're ever thinking, I know I deleted something and I didn't mean to, or I can't find a document, I'm worried it might be in the trash, just simply, you're just going down, scrolling through your drive, and at the very bottom is that trash file, and you can dig through lots of stuff and give it back to the drive, give it back to give it some life. So that is the ultimate restoration feature there. Changing file formats. So yeah, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but these are all just, I think, helpful little tools that are built in within Drive that you may or may not know exist. And again, I think these will make your life a little bit easier and a little more efficient when you know some of these tips. So let's go to my random Google Doc. And let's say I want to make this Google Doc a different format. So I don't want it to be a Google Doc anymore, or I want it to be a Google Doc and something else, for example. So I could click File, and I could say Download. And I could change it to all of these different types of formats, right? I would say that I most frequently use this download feature to download something as a PDF document and then send it off that way. So for example, for my tech conference that I'm putting on, I create the actual save the date in Google Docs, but then I create a PDF to like have that be like the flyer for the event. So if I were to do that, I would just say download PDF and give it a minute to download, and boom, there it is. And now it's in PDF format, right? So that's all well and good, but I probably want to still have easy access to it. So I should actually save it now. So I'm going to say File, Save As. I'm going to say choose a different folder, so it's not in my just in my downloads. And I'm going to put it in my Google Drive. And we'll just leave it outside of a folder. But so maybe I want to rename it here, but I can just simply click Save. Boom, it's saved. And so now if I jump into my drive, which I may need to refresh because sometimes it doesn't reflect changes right away. Yep, I'm gonna have to refresh. And now, once I'm refreshed, I should be able to scroll down. Since I didn't put it in a folder, I should be able to see my PDF version of that Google Doc. Goodness, it's running slow. There we go, mindfulness and happiness. So what's cool about this is now I can actually share this out with like Google Drive settings, right? So if I would right click, share, and now I can actually share it just as if it were a Google Doc, right? So keep in mind here, one little tip that I think sometimes people forget is if you're using a Google Doc and you change it into a different format, such as a Word document or a PDF in this example, if you make changes in the Google Doc, they will not be reflected in the PDF. What you would need to do is go into your Google Doc, make whatever changes you want, and then re-download it as a PDF. So let's say I had made changes to the Google Doc, and then I'd want to resave it, File, Save As. And then so I don't have multiple different versions, I would want to go to wherever it is I saved it before, which in this case is Google Drive. And I'd want to select it. And it's going to say like, are you sure you want to override it? I'm going to say yes, because I want one version within this PDF format. Okay, yeah, I didn't make any changes, so. But you get the idea that you need to definitely update your PDF versions because they don't necessarily work like a Google Doc. You just need to re-download it and save it and replace it. So again, File, Download, and you can change the format of whatever you're working in, Google Docs, Slide, Sheet, etc. All right, next up, commenting. So within Google Drive, and specifically working in, like, let's say Google Doc, for argument's sake, again, you can give folks editing rights, you can give them can comment rights, and then you can give them can view rights. So the difference for that is obviously can view is they can't alter it in any way, they can't make comments. You give them can editing rights, obviously they can make changes, and then it becomes more of a collaborative piece. And then if you want to give people the ability to give suggestions, but you don't want them to necessarily make changes, that's where you would give them the can comment rights. And then I'll show you a couple tips even within that. So let me jump out here and go to my random Google Doc. Okay, so if I want to use the comment tool, I can either just simply click the comment button and click comment. Or if I wanted to like comment on a specific word or like sentence, I could highlight it and then click the comment button, right? And then I can make my comments. Another quick tool is if I wanted to make a comment and not have to go up here, you'll notice when I like highlight something, or if I like hover over this little margin here, like it gives me the option to actually click a little shortcut and add a comment that way. So you don't have to go up here. You can always click the little button and throw in your comment. And then you can click comment or cancel. And then you can also, just resolve the comments. But this is a great tool for collaboration. And then to take it even one step further within Google, or within the commenting feature, you can actually assign tasks to people within Google Docs, like using the comment feature. So this is really great if you're in a collaborative document, for example, and you are leaving comments. Maybe it's like a working document that like this has been going on for weeks or months, and people aren't necessarily going in the document every day and like seeing what you've added or seeing what you've changed, right? So let's say there's something very specific you want done, or like, hey, can you review this piece, or this paragraph is very pertinent to this person. I want to make sure that they can see it, and I don't want to take the time to send an email. Hey, can you check this part of this email or this Google Doc? Instead, you can use the Assign Tasks feature within the commenting tool. So you do the same thing where you write a comment. And then instead of just typing in whatever the comment is, you would add the person's email and then type in whatever comment you want. And then this little assign button will pop up. And so then you can assign it to them, and then they'll get an email notification saying, hey, so-and-so has assigned this task to you. And then they click it in their email and it takes them right to the task in the comment. So it kind of just makes things easier for you. You can directly have that discussion without having to send an email or having people have to go back and forth in the document. They get notified because you just simply have assigned a task to them. So let me show you what that looks in real time. Okay, so let's do a comment, and I just do @ and I start typing in their name, and if they're in your contacts, they'll pop up. So again, I did the @ symbol, right? @ start typing in someone's name, select them, and then I can, say sample comments to check out, and then I would click assign to Denise, and then I would click assign if I actually wanted her to be notified saying, hey, I want you to check out this specific part of this Google Doc. And once they do that, they'll be notified and they can go into the Google Doc, and then they can go in and actually click the resolve button once they've actually taken care of it. Or what's nice is they could even go in and almost reply to your assigned task and maybe assign something back to you to say, check out what I've changed or review what I've done. So it can become this ongoing conversation that just saves everybody a lot of time. So that assign task feature is definitely worth utilizing. And then last week I mentioned this Mote extension, and you may have noticed the icon within my comments. If you add this extension to your Chrome browser, it allows you to actually give voice comments within Google Docs. So for example, let me just cancel this so she doesn't get a notification. I can click the add a comment, and you'll see this little icon. Now, this icon is popping up because I've added the Google extension to my Chrome browser. And to do that, I just go to, like, the link is right here to the extension. So if you wanted to add it, you just click on that link, and then it's already added to it, but it would say add to Chrome, and you would accept the terms, and then it lands in your little toolbar up here for extensions. And once you've done that, when you go into your Google Docs and make comments, then you'll see the icon, right? So all I do is I simply say, I click the little Mote button, and I start recording my voice message. And I can do this for, I think it's up to a minute or maybe a minute and a half. And then it's thinking, and it's saying, hey, check out this link. So I could even copy this link and send it to someone. And it will look something like this. Allison's created a voice message for you, and then you can play it. And it also has the transcription right here for you, so pretty cool. In addition to that, I can comment, but then I could also edit my transcription. So let's say, I mean, the Google transcription is pretty accurate, but let's say I missed something. I could just say edit and then make the change for, you know, the transcription and then update. I can play it back, and then folks can reply to my voice message and even enable their own voice message, like respond within that voice commenting. So the commenting tool is actually pretty robust within Google Drive with the right tools and with the right little tricks, like the @ symbol with, you know, the person's email, or using this Mote extension. So might want to start checking those out as well. All right, so let's see what else I've got for you. Adding links. Yes, this is total time saver, and it makes things a lot cleaner, I think. So if you wanted to add some links, let's say I wanted to grab this URL and share it in a Google Doc, for example, instead of just simply pasting it in here like this, it's not the prettiest, right? I mean, yes, it's the link, and yes, I can click on it and it'll take me to it. Instead, I could, what I normally do is I usually type out what I'm going to say first. You don't have to, but so maybe I want to say voice memo, and then I highlight it and I click the little insert link. I can also right click and click link. And then that's where I paste my URL, and I click apply. And now it is a lovely link, right? So I just click on it and it takes me to, so if I wanted to make changes, I could click the edit button. Maybe I wanted to add something, click apply, great. I also can use the Control K shortcut. So I think I threw it in here. This little Control K, if you hold on Control K, the shortcut will allow you to just, it'll go right to this little add a link thing instead of having to click it, just Control K. And then you can type in your text and paste in your link and click apply. And there it is. This same process works within any of your Google apps, right? So like even in Gmail, now it's not necessarily the, actually no, it does work the same. It's you can use the text instead of just putting the link, and you just simply click on, I think it's, let's see, yeah, this little insert link button, and Control K again is a shortcut. So yes, I definitely encourage the insert link for aesthetics, but also just, it's lovely to be able to throw in links all over a Google Doc. Just makes it that much more interactive. All right, switching gears, tips for finding that file. I think we all have lived that moment where you're like, I know that file is in my Google Drive. I just can't find it, and I don't remember the name or who created it. So one way to do this, there's actually several like new features that I'll quickly show you too that have been a game changer for me personally in terms of finding things. But the first is like the most simple process, and that is when you're in a Google Doc that you're like, I'm in this document all the time. I want this to be very much accessible. It's almost like you want to favorite it or make it a bookmark, but it's not called that. It's this little star button. You click the star button, and then once it's filled in gold, that means this document is going to live in your starred folder. And so you can see like these are the like frequently used documents that I have starred. And so this might be a great way for you to find things very quickly that you're in all the time. Now I wouldn't start starring everything under the sun because then you got to like sift through the star folder, right? And then it kind of defeats the purpose. But I would say maybe like your top 10 high flyers, go ahead and start starring them. And then, you know, just go to your starred folder, boom. Now, Google Drive has added even more cool features for that exact purpose. And I'll show you what those are. So quick access and the workspaces, I love personally. So if I go to my Google Drive, and normally if I'm just in my Drive, I'll see, you know, my folders and my documents down here. But this quick access is basically like, hey, you were recently in these documents. Perhaps you want to be in them again. And if I just double click, it'll open it up for me. So that's within my Drive, quick access. But you'll notice that there's also priority. If I go to priority, this gives you up the top here even more frequently used or most recently used documents. And so you can click this little arrow and like scroll through all the things that you've been in. Now it's not like infinite, right? But it's more than what was in just the quick access within my Drive. And then again, you can click open or just double click it and it'll open it up for you. In addition to priority, you have something called workspaces. And this is very cool. This to me is kind of like the starred folder, but like way more robust. So what you can do is you can see I've got some sample workspaces that I've created. And it's kind of like a way to organize your frequent flyer documents and slides and sheets and all that into like more organized groups. So for example, I'm frequently attending various meetings that have various agendas, right? So I ended up just creating an agenda workspace. And so you can see all the agenda. This isn't even probably all the ones. I should probably add more, but you can see that I can just simply go to these agendas and access them quickly instead of having to go to the folder they live in, find the right subfolder, find the right agenda. I mean, you can see how that can get a little bit tedious. So instead, I've created an agenda workspace. So let me show you how that works. So I simply push create, and then I title, and I click create. And it's saying, okay, let's start by adding some files. So I click add files, and I can throw in maybe some stuff from recent or my drive or shared drives. And again, what's cool about the workspaces is it doesn't change the location of these documents. It's literally just like almost like an organized table of contents for you. So it overrides the like lives in folders, that sort of thing, without having to move anything or mess anything up, which is ideal. So I can, sure, I'll throw in some random stuff. Click insert. And I can add more files if I want. Running a little slow today. Sure, we'll throw this in. Insert. Okay, so now I've got two things in my workspace, and I'll just click done for now. So you're probably like, well, where did it go? So if I scroll down, it keeps my workspaces in alphabetical order, as you can see. So it brought it down here. And so I can click the three dots here, and I can rename the workspace, hide it, or remove it. I can also, within each individual document, I can, you know, go and do my normal, whatever it is that I want to do with the Google Doc, just as if I were in my Drive. Or I can just click the view workspace to be able to see all of the files. If I want to open it up, I just, boom, open it up. So workspaces, very easy to create in terms of the process, right? It looks like, oh, looks like there's a maximum. You can have 8 workspaces. So I've maxed out my space, but I could always, you know, delete this one since it's not a real one. And suddenly I have room for one more. And again, when you're removing the workspaces, it's not like deleting the files within the workspaces. It's just saying, hey, I'm going to get rid of this section of the little table of contents that you've created within the workspaces. So pretty cool to help you organize files and access them a little bit easier. And the last couple things here, the tips for drive settings. So let's talk about that because I think that is a big one. If I go to my little gear icon in Drive and I click settings, I'm not sure if yours is enabled, but you might want to consider having these two boxes checked. So the first is the convert uploads. That means convert uploads files to Google Docs editor format. So when you bring in a document that needs to be converted to a Google Doc, for example, like maybe it's a Word document you want it brought in, it will automatically set up that conversion process for you. So maybe you want to have that step done instead of having to do it manually, have that button clicked. The second one is the offline tool. Create, open, and edit your recent Google Docs sheets and slides files on the device while offline. So that's nice because, you know, if your internet's down, for example, you could still access these items offline and then just know that those changes won't be reflected to, like if it's a collaborative document, for example, until you reconnect to the internet. And then once it does that, it will reflect all the changes. So these are two nice features to have enabled. It's not going to hurt anything to have it enabled. You might not ever necessarily need them or use them, but in the time that you do, you'll be, you know, probably pretty pleased you have those enabled. Let's see, efficiency tip, force a copy. Yes. So if you are in a situation where you want to collaborate or you want to share a document with folks, but you want to make sure that they don't make the changes on the original, and you want to basically force their hand on that, you want them to make a copy of their own so then they own the document. And you can do this with docs, slides, sheets, drawings, whatever. The only thing you have to make sure is that you have that file set as sharing settings, anyone with the link. Anyone with a link. So you would click on up here in the little, here I'm going to drag this over so you can see it better. So you want to see the URL. That's a long one, yeah. And normally, well, actually it's because I'm in the middle of a slide, but that's okay. So normally the end of your presentation goes to, here maybe if I go here, yeah, it's just showing me the slide ID. Okay, so instead of having this little edit button or this edit word, if I delete that and say copy, and then let's say I want to copy this. I'm not sure if it'll work in my browser because I have editing rights, but if I were to paste this in, let's test this theory. Yes, it will force them. So if I shared this link out, this link is going to force whoever has this link with view only, it's going to force them to make a copy of it. So it's saying, hey, yeah, you can access this, but you're going to need to make a copy of it first. So then they own it. And so it just kind of helps that coordination of, I want to ensure that everybody's, you know, not, you know, making changes to the original and that sort of thing. So you'll notice that all of your, you know, Google Docs and slides and sheets that are shared will have at the very end, they'll have that little edit button or edit word. And so when you change just that word, it changes the power of what accessibility people have with that document. All right. And we're down to the last two. Save to Google Drive extension. I think I mentioned this last week, but this is a nice tip if you were wanting to, you know, save an article or a picture. If you have this Save to Google Drive extension enabled, which I think, yeah, I have this enabled. And let's just say, let's go to pictures of puppies. That sounds safe. I can just right click, save to Google Drive, save the image. Boom, it's saving it right into my drive. It put it in this folder, but I can change the folder if I want. But instead of having to go through the process of, downloading it, saving it, you just, boom, save to Google Drive. It's done it for you. And again, that's just an extension that you have enabled. Once it's added to your Chrome browser, when you right-click on an image or an article, you'll see this little Save to Google Drive feature. All right, and the last item I want to discuss is the shared drive, and used to be known as team drives, right? So I think a lot of us we've either heard of shared drives or maybe we've even used shared drives, but just to clarify and give you a couple tips about shared drive. So it's different than My Drive, right? Because you're not the only owner of things within the shared drive. The purpose, and I think the why Google came out with shared drives was, let's say somebody has an account at work and whatever entity they have, and maybe they leave, and all of the files and docs and sheets and all that they've created, when that account is deleted, goes with them. And obviously there's lots of collaboration in Google Drive, and so that sort of negates the whole purpose of shared documents, right? So if things live in shared drives, it sets you up to be like almost like a moderator or a leader of the shared drive, instead of like, I am the owner and no one else can do anything, right? You can give people different accesses within shared drive, but the shared drive is just a little bit safer in terms of having everybody have a little bit more similar roles. Now, I will not sit here and say that shared drive is perfect, because I personally would like to see this particular shortcoming be changed in Google Drive, and maybe they're working on it, because Google is very good about listening to their feedback, especially from educators. But you cannot you can bring Google Docs and specific files over from your My Drive to your shared drive, right? Very cool. So if you're like, hey guys, my department or my team, I want to start a shared drive now, that just makes more sense for us. Let's start, pulling some of our resources and putting them in Drive. Cool. You can drag those things into shared drive. Yes. What you can't do is drag an entire folder into a shared drive. And if you've done a lot of work in a specific folder in your My Drive, that would be very tedious to drag every single file within that folder or that subfolder into shared drive. So that's kind of the one kind of holdup I have with shared drive. But other than that, I think there's definitely some good ways to use shared drives, and it's just a great collaborative tool. So for example, if I go to my shared drives, you can see these are my shared drives. These are, the number of members within my shared drive. So for example, I could go into my TI4E shared drive, and I've got 7 people in here, and I can add members, I can manage members, I can change the settings. So lots of the tools that you have within your My Drive, but it just looks a little different. Like you're managing members instead of just sharing it as a can view, can edit, can comment, right? So I just wanted to mention that, along with Priority, along with My Drive, and along with the Trash and Star that we've talked about all today, you do have the shared drive that is a little bit newer within Google Drive. So that looks like everything I wanted to cover today. And again, lots of the Google Drive tips and tricks from what we discussed today, some of them came from Tech Tip Tuesdays throughout the year that I've shared. So if you ever wanted to get a little bit more in depth on some of those, you can just go to the intranet and go to Tech Tip Tuesday and actually just search by keyword, okay, I want to look for videos on Google Drive, and you can find all the stuff that I've created that way. What you can also do is, if you want more one-on-one support, you can email me, or we can set up a one-on-one appointment via Meet or Zoom or whatever it is you want. And it can help you navigate some of that, even if it's, throughout the summer, if you're okay, maybe I have a little more time to organize my Drive, because sometimes that's step one is okay, I really want to use Drive, but it kind of is a nightmare right now. I always recommend people take once a week, take whatever amount of time you have, even if it's 10 minutes or an hour or whatever, and organize one folder. And then before you know it, that one folder will turn into 2, which will turn into 10, which will turn into your whole Drive being organized. So if anybody needs support in organizing their Drive or even their shared drives, let me know. All right, I'm going to jump to the chat and see if there are any questions, but make sure you've completed the attendance form. And I just wanted to mention too that we have our last session for this particular school year, Zoom tips and tricks on June 10th. So that's next week at 1 o'clock. And so I hope you join me. So let's jump back to the chat box, and I'm going to stop my recording here.